Hi, this is Garrett Wong. I played Ensign Kim on Star Trek Voyager, and you're listening to Kneel Before Pod.
Kneel Before Blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
Hello, I'm a mad space scientist and my name is Angus. I was working in the lab late last night and I cooked up a couple of human podcaster hybrids. With me I have Craig.
Hello, I should exist.
And Natalie.
So happy to be here.
Programmed to say that.
It's that time of year again where we talk about alien movies. And no one's been happy about it for 2 years.
We've done all the good ones.
Yeah, so it's just the Drek from here on out.
Yep. Legit, this should be the last one.
Well, it wouldn't be a Kneel Before pod if we didn't kneel before and rise against. So, Natalie, what are you kneeling before?
Well, Craig just reminded me once more that it has to be entertainment based, I guess. So, Peaky Blinders, because I'm so far behind the times. And last month I managed to watch every season in the space of 5 days, and that includes going to work. So, like, I'm impressed with myself.
It's dedication.
Homes.
That is impressive.
Sure. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Are you going to write up a retrospective for the website?
No.
The haircuts of Tommy Shelby?
Oh, Tommy.
He only really has one, I suppose.
Yeah. That's my kneel before.
That is a short list. Okay, Craig, what are you kneeling before?
Well, I'm going to kneel before. Disney are releasing their streaming service this year. Possibly next year in this country, who knows. But they've announced a bunch of things. One of the things I'm really interested in is this animated What If series, which is asks the question, what if anything to do with the kind of superheroes. So the first one they're going to do is, what if Captain America was Peggy Carter? And so they're going to do some kind of animated short, I don't know how short it'll be, about Peggy Carter becoming Captain America in the 40s. And I think that's going to be really interesting. It's a character I like. I like the what if thing. Alternate realities are always fun. So I'm amped for that.
I've not heard of that at all. It sounds cool.
Yeah, be a bit of, well, what if, literally.
Once they have their streaming service, does that mean no more Star Wars or Avengers or anything on Netflix? Is everything going to just be pooled and shown only on Disney?
As I understand it, yeah. I think as soon as the rights lapse for all these things, they'll just revert back to where they belong.
Such a Jay-Z.
They've already they've already said that no more Marvel films will appear on Netflix for that reason. I think they'll be able to keep the ones they made. But other than that, yeah.
The Netflix originals. Oh well, it was fun while it lasted.
Nobody wants the Netflix originals, so they do.
Not anymore. People got sick of them, including Netflix.
Always been sick of them.
Okay. Kneeling before. I will kneel before and continue to kneel before Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, it came out in October. I've only been playing it since December. But, yeah, solid. Hasn't left the disk drive.
Well, except that one time.
Finally completed the main campaign. Now working on the epilogue. But,
Is that an extensive epilogue?
I believe it is, yeah. About 20% of the story is epilogue.
Oh.
So
Actually done.
Yeah, it got a little dusty in here towards the end of the main campaign, but yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it sounds super short.
I haven't even played any of the Red Dead games.
So good.
I do have the first one, I think, but I've never played it.
I would encourage you to play it.
I don't really like westerns, though. That's kind of a problem.
Oh, you will.
I will.
You'll be converted, and then the only films you'll want to watch will be westerns.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Except for Back to the Future 3, because that is still trash.
That's about the only western I would have really watched.
Mate! No wonder you don't like westerns, if that's what
I
you're
love Back to the
basing.
Future 3. It's not really a western, it's a pastiche of a western.
I don't like it at all. Me and Gus B talked about this the other day because he was going to put it on, and I was like, no, I'm not watching that ever again.
Well, that's harsh.
A bold statement.
Mate, like, why would you ever choose 3 over 1 or 2?
It sounds like you're rising against it.
Well, the way I watch Back to the Future is I watch all 3 of them at once. So that's the way I
On 3 TVs simultaneously.
Yeah, simultaneously. They line up surprisingly well.
I could actually do that as well. That's the
Soundtracked to Dark Side of the Moon.
backwards. I have seen Cowboys and Aliens, or Cowboys versus Aliens, or whatever it's called. That was also rubbish.
That is another terrible Western.
I suppose I quite like Firefly. That's kind of a Western.
Yeah, there you go. That's kind of back in the right direction.
I'll be back.
Are there spaceships in Red Dead Redemption?
No, there aren't, as far as I'm aware.
Not even hidden UFOs like there is in Grand Theft Auto.
No, it's a lot more based in reality, as much as being able to slow down time and pick out your enemies in a gunfight is reality.
Well, that's slightly disappointing. If it was Aliens, I might be interested.
Well, maybe one day I'll get to that copy of Red Dead 1. Alright, I'm going to throw it back around the circle the other way. Back to you, Craig, for your Rise Against.
Oh, that's an easy one. I recently watched the Hellboy reboot, and it's terrible. It's really bad. So, yeah, it's supposed to be R-rated, which is apparently a good thing, except it's not. It's R-rated in the sense that people like to swear and be violent. So it's as if a 12-year-old made a film. Apparently it was met with a lot of production issues in the back end. Interestingly, the director has not been present during any of the marketing whatsoever. He just hasn't done any interviews. He hasn't said anything. It suggests that something really bad went down. But it's a terrible film, and I don't think you should go and see it.
Was the R rating a kind of reaction to Deadpool? Like, this worked here, so let's try it again.
I really don't know. I think the intention of it was good enough, as in we want to make this film with as much violence and horror elements as we want, or as we can, and then I think eventually it just devolved into what we have now, which is just a juvenile piece of crap, basically. There wasn't much that redeemed it. David Harbour wasn't even that good, I don't think. No patch on Big Ron.
Who we'll talk about later.
Yeah, who will be talking about one of his lesser outputs into the acting world. But yeah, it's one of those things where we didn't get Hellboy 3, and I kind of held out hope that this reboot would somehow justify it, the fact that we're not getting Hellboy 3. But now it's like, can we just get Hellboy 3? But in this world of undoing reboots, such as with RoboCop and Terminator and Halloween, maybe we will get Hellboy 3 one day.
One day.
Before Ron gets too old.
I think he might be there already, but I don't know. He looked pretty old in Sons of Anarchy, and that was a few years ago. Yeah. Natalie, what are you rising against?
Fires. I'm just reading the news. I know Craig hates this, but
he does.
I've just been sent a...
Can you change it to an entertainment thing?
No, but this is... Well, to be fair though, like, the news nowadays is entertainment for a lot of people.
No, really not.
But Notre Dame is on fire, and it's really sad. So that's
as featured in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which you'll be able to see on Disney's streaming service later this year, or perhaps next year in the UK.
So no, seriously,
fire in that film.
It's really sad. The spires just collapsed, and I'm sad that I'll never get to see it. And that would have been my entertainment, going to see it. And now I'm really sad. So hopefully everyone's okay. That's what I'm rising against right now.
Okay, on a similar level, I'm rising against Pet Sematary.
What?
The new 2019 remake of Stephen King's Pet Sematary. Yeah.
You didn't like
Is that the one from the author of It? It's a weird thing about in the market.
Yes, from the lesser known author of It.
From the author of The Dark Tower.
I mean, Yeah, I like the books. The film, terrible. Yeah, I think this. We went to see it recently, and I just think that it was another one of his books that just hasn't been converted to film
Yeah, but I don't
very
think
well.
you can do that with Stephen King's books.
No, but I
don't
thought-
think they can be condensed.
I thought
Yeah.
it was a good interpretation of the sort of early period part of that movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing the second part of it. I think it was well done. I read the whole book, and I think that there's differences that I think the book's better than the film, but I still enjoyed the film. Whereas Pet Sematary, I think, is just another example of how his work is difficult to make into a film with success.
Do you know what I enjoyed with it though? It had me scared like very, very quickly. Like it had me on edge from like a really impressively early time and kept it up for the whole movie. And I kind of want to read the book, but so the movie's done that for me. It's made me want to read the book, so I've got more detail and information, but I'm also petrified.
Have you seen it, Craig?
No, it was out the same weekend as Edinburgh Comic Con, so I was too busy. And then there was the showings after that were crap, so I've not bothered. Sounds like I'm not missing much, but
I haven't read that one, but I can imagine from having seen that film now that the book would be far better, because I can see
Well,
what they were
of course it will
what they were trying to do, but I just don't think it was a great conversion to film.
I also haven't seen It because it has clowns in it, and I can't watch stuff with clowns in it.
Ever.
Or faces made out of food.
Or food made out of... Yeah.
Food made out of faces. That's even worse. I mean, most people are scared of that.
Food made into the shape of faces.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Some deep insight into my psyche here, guys. Just,
Absolutely horrifying.
All right. Without further ado, we'll move on to the topic of tonight's discussion.
Yay.
A small cheer there for part 4 in the Alien quadrilogy, Alien Resurrection.
If I had to cheer.
You don't have to cheer.
I'm definitely not.
You can make any other sort of reaction sounds if you like.
Oh,
that's right.
Good for you.
Why is Christian Bale here?
Part.
Very accurate impression.
Thank you. Here all night.
Natalie, your spoiler-free thoughts?
Spoiler free.
Yeah.
Just fuck.
Thank you. Okay, Craig.
It's not good. I haven't actually seen this film since it was rented for me from the video shop whenever it came out on VHS.
Nice.
That was the only time I've seen it. So I've had the quadrilogy on DVD and Blu-ray for years and never bothered revisiting it. It's crap.
Did your mum rent this for you?
I believe it was my dad, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
Well, I blame him for introducing this to your life.
Yeah, but presumably you'd already seen the other at least 2.
Yeah, I'd seen all 3 of them before that point. So I thought, that's another Alien film. I mean, I don't remember what I thought of it at the time, but... And then in subsequent years, I've just heard how rubbish it is. And then now that I've finally revisited it, I agree. It's complete rubbish. Just nothing about it I liked, really.
Guthby, what about you?
I have to agree. I think I've obviously watched Alien and Aliens many times over and have never really revisited 3 and 4 because they've always been the lesser films in the quadrilogy. But for some reason, I had it in my mind that Resurrection was an improvement on 3. I don't know whether or not that's just because it's kind of the widely held opinion. But I'm now questioning my childish brain from back in the day and thinking, what the hell was I thinking after having seen this, and how could I have enjoyed it at all? Because I agree, it was...
Did you enjoy it as a child?
Well, I just think, it was an alien movie and it was like a horror movie, so you were like, we'll watch this, and it's kind of fun just watching people being killed off and kind of...
Spoiler free?
Well, yeah, it's an alien movie. People are going to die.
People die. It's a horror film. People
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm questioning just how I could possibly have found it entertaining in the past, because rewatching it again, it is. I think you said this in a text to me. It's a slog. It is just. I mean, you're kind of watching it and just thinking, how much more is there to go?
It's also the shortest of them.
Did not feel it.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I think you possibly think it's better than Alien 3 because it's easier to follow.
No,
I don't know about that either.
No, I will come to that. We can talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that my memory of it is that I kind of have an idea of what is going on in the film. Yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward, but I don't think that the film does a very good job of conveying that to you at all. As you're watching it, you're like, who's this? What's going on here? Why are they doing this? And it doesn't really ever help you along the way. I don't know whether or not we're all just too dumb to understand Alien Resurrection, but I'm going to guess that no, we're not, and it's just been badly made.
People think we're dumb for not liking it.
I'm sure there's some defenders out there. As I said with Alien 3, didn't actually hear from anyone about that, but it's fine.
Everyone's worst film is someone's favourite film.
Exactly.
No, there's no fucking way.
It's possible. Someone out there thinks this is their favourite film.
Craig, we went over this before, and now, with having seen this pile of a movie, I can tell you that might be true now for Aliens 3, but it's only because they've seen Aliens 4 and now think, actually, Alien 3 wasn't that bad.
There's no accounting for taste, but it's certainly possible that someone out there thinks this is their favourite film of all time.
If it is, it's the only movie that they've ever seen.
Could be.
Okay, I feel like we can't discuss it much more without straying into the territory of spoilers, so Craig, hit whatever inventive spoiler alarm you've got.
Danger. The emergency destruct system is now activated. The ship will detonate in T-minus 10 minutes. The option to override automatic detonation expires in T-minus 5 minutes.
And now we're safely in
The car
spoilerific territory. So, what plot there is, we can discuss just now.
Q&A.
Oh, Q&A. We've got a Q. Shall we A?
Yeah, what is it?
It's actually two questions, although one of them's funny. They're both from Stephen, who says, one question. Who were you expecting? Santa Claus? Worst line in the film? Well, it's not the worst line in the film, but it's probably the best line in the film.
Worst and best at the same time?
Yeah. The actual question is, if they had followed Joss Whedon's vision, do you think it would have been a far more acceptable film? Or do you feel that the idea of the film was deeply flawed to begin with? And then they put in brackets, I do enjoy this movie, but it's absolutely terrible. Lol. Thank you, Stephen.
I like the lol at the end.
Yeah. So Joss Whedon has went on record saying that they butchered his script, they changed the ending, and then the delivery of the lines was apparently not what he envisioned. So it was apparently taken seriously when it was supposed to be played for laughs. I'm not sure that would have made the film any better. It would have made the film a bit more Joss Whedon, which may not have been better. I mean, I like Joss Whedon a lot, but I don't think anything that was going on was interesting enough to have a tongue-in-cheek tone salvage it.
No, I think it was badly executed from every angle.
And the director couldn't speak English, and there were translators on set. So
I think even if it had been filmed exactly to Whedon's specifications and with his ending, I just don't think this one was bound for success.
I'm thinking if Joss Whedon really thinks that he had any better a storyline or script, then the people who made it obviously destroyed his script and went with something else because it's utter trash.
But this came out in 1997, which was when, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series, began.
garbage. It's garbage.
And he,
Buffy's garbage.
no. So
this
that was
movie,
obviously successful because of
garbage.
Joss Whedon, but then this was unsuccessful because of, it seems difficult to blame him for it, but then
I blame everyone involved that had anything to do with this. It makes me almost hate the fact that Alien was born because it gave us this movie.
It was also 2 years after Toy Story, which Joss Whedon also wrote.
Joss Whedon wrote Toy Story.
Some of it, anyway. Yeah.
What world are we living in? That
you didn't
this
know.
man creates Toy Story and this
an Alien
absolute
Resurrection.
shite.
The same world in which the director of this film would go on to direct Amelie. Correct.
Well, after this film, he said he was done with Hollywood.
Did he just do this for like? Did he just do this for like work experience? Like
he directed.
If somebody owed him a favor.
The film that he
lost a
directed
bet.
before this was The Island of Lost Children, I think.
Oh, we've seen that.
Which
Mostly.
has Ron Perlman in it as well. And I think that Alien Resurrection is more of a sequel to The Island of Lost Children than it is to Alien 3.
I'm going to second that.
I don't know what it is about his style, but I found it really jarring throughout the film. And just was like, why are there so many weird close-ups of people's faces and kind of pull-ins and all these weird angles and things? Yeah, it felt totally wrong.
Yeah. So Joss Whedon's script was off base from minute one. That's what we think.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I hope we've answered it to your satisfaction. And see, he apparently enjoys the film, Natalie, so...
Who does?
Stephen. He enjoys it.
Yeah, but it's not going to be his favourite in the whole of the world.
No, probably not, but he does enjoy it.
I'm going to go with definitely not.
Maybe you can answer that in the next podcast. Stephen, is it your favourite film? And if not, what is?
Well, I don't want to know what his movie is, but I want to know why he likes it at all. That would be a better question. Tell us why.
I was asking the people asking questions. That's getting really meta here.
It's going to keep going in a big circle.
Yeah.
So, what do we think of the plot? 200 years after the end of Alien 3...
is that ever told to us?
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, because she's like deed.
An army lab in space is floating around experimenting, trying to clone Ripley so that they can get an alien queen. They need space pirates to show up with bodies for them to infect with face huggers, and then, as usual, whenever you're dealing with the Xenomorph, everything goes wrong. And it's down to a band of less than plucky survivors to escape from aliens rampaging around a ship. Is it just more of the same? Have we seen enough of this plot before?
I actually feel like this film should be called Aliens Resurrection. If you go by the previous naming conventions that the series has.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are multiple aliens, so therefore it's Aliens Resurrection.
Yeah, but what do you think about the plot, Craig?
I don't think there is one, really, other than what you've just explained.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a kind of flimsy setup for people running through identical-looking corridors, being picked off one by one. Which, is your standard horror setup, but for Alien you might expect... Okay, at this point you would probably expect something better, because there's only been one bad one. I mean, by this point we know that the Alien franchise is a bad franchise with 2 good films in it. But... apart from next year when I get to defend Alien vs Predator, I can't wait. I wish it was this year. 2020 is the year of AVP. That's the tease. I'm just going to spend this podcast setting up next year's podcast. It's the Fantastic Beast of podcasts.
What did you think, Natalie? What the plot?
They kind of have one. It's just...
Why does it take so long to get going?
It should not exist. It should not exist in any form. All it's done is once more all over the first 2 movies. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the story. I don't get why. I mean, I'd get it. I just don't find it interesting or like entertainment, like at all. I don't get why, like who hired the actors that they got to be the roles that they've got. I don't get why it was like an utter piss take. Like, I just don't get, like, the tone of it is weird, the story's weird.
Do you think that...
I don't think it's got any redeeming feature, and I'm trying so hard to find one, because I really like Winona
Ryder. There's so much to explain, though, isn't there? Like, early on, it's like, you've got to explain what the space pirates are, you've got to explain why Ripley has been brought back.
Yep.
You've got to explain what they're up to. You know, there's just so much.
They've done loads of things before. Like, in the other movies, like, they have to very quickly establish what the hell's going on, because obviously it's different to our world, you know. But I just feel like they've always been working with and someone recently told me, where was it? You can't polish a turd. And it's like, it's that basic thing of, we've heard that a million times, you legit can't do that. Like, you couldn't, doesn't matter how good an actor you got for that movie, you could never make it good. It was just, I don't know why they continued on making it, because they must have gotten to a stage where they were like, this is absolute garbage, and they just kept on making it because they were obviously had gotten the funding or whatever, and they just kept on rolling with it, like, what a joke. It is an utter ming hag of a movie.
We know what's similar about it to the other films. We've said the kind of plot points that it shares, but it does have an excuse for bringing Sigourney Weaver back, because she died at the end of Alien 3. She's a clone now. It also introduces a very disturbing alien hybrid. So, you know, there's these bits and pieces that I can see where they're trying to kind of develop, but I don't know. I just feel like it didn't. Were they trying to be a B movie, but didn't hang together?
Were they trying to be a B movie, but with a bigger budget?
Well, Sigourney Weaver was asked, like, why she did this film, and she basically said, because they rolled up to my house with a dump truck of money. That was something funny in the trivia. Apparently, she got paid $11 million, which was the budget of the first Alien film, to be in this. So, yeah, I would do it for that kind of money.
Is that like the Michael Caine in Jaws 4?
Yeah.
Was it Jaws 4?
Yeah, I've got a beach house to pay off. You know,
yeah.
I'll just take the money and deal with this.
But seriously, my appreciation for all of those people.
Well, I know it. What I think strange is that arguably it has a better cast than Alien 3. I mean, I'm not dissing the dance. Charles Dance, you know I love you. But Sigourney Weaver, Ron Perlman, Winona Ryder. I'm
going to be controversial right now.
Grima Wormtongue?
Yeah, Brad Dourif.
I don't really rate Ron Perlman that much.
Or Suder from Star Trek Voyager. That's who he also played.
On paper, you know, fairly strong cast. But maybe it was the material or the direction, because...
I think it was everything.
Yeah, even the cast.
Everything. Why did Winona Ryder think that, I
can answer that question.
Mate.
She said that she wanted so much to be in an Alien film, she would have done anything to be in an Alien film.
Really?
Even if it was getting killed in the first 5 minutes.
Well, they should have done that. It should have just been that she was that first 5 minutes victim, because having her, I thought it was because she maybe always wanted to play a robot or an android or something, and great, she got to be like, oh, I got to play an android in an Alien movie, great. But just, I have no time for this movie. I hate that we're doing a podcast on it, because I legit feel like I want to forget it.
We're spending on
I want to forget it as soon as possible. I went to bed last night and I'm pretty sure I had Raj nightmares, because the treatment of the baby at the end is so sinister. It's so dark.
And they even gave it more of an expression so that you would feel that way.
Yeah.
And you do.
Yeah.
You've been moved by Alien Resurrection.
No. Just the needless killing of the hybrid babies.
Well, it wasn't needless. I mean, it was a killing machine.
Just going around biting people's heads off.
I was so sad. See when that alien baby kills its mum, its actual birth mum. It was so sad. They've just gone in there and just absolutely fucked everything that you love about Alien and try to destroy it.
Wait till we get to Covenant.
I read that Sigourney Weaver, apart from the dump truck of cash, said that she was interested in because the whole sort of cloning process for Ripley ended up with her being kind of spliced with alien DNA and giving her these weird, inconsistent powers and some acidic blood. So, she's kind of playing a weird version of a character that we've seen her play a few times. What did you think of that as a direction for the character, Craig?
I think that, so if Sigourney Weaver said she was interested in that sounds like marketing garbage to me. That just sounds, it sounds like the stuff that you say when you're doing the rounds promoting the film. You don't actually necessarily believe that. I was watching it and I was like, this isn't Ripley. It's kind of like the decline of John McClane as well. She used to be this kind of just a scrappy working class space miner. And now she's like a superhero, basically, that can use her acid blood to escape from cells. And she just randomly hits people and plays basketball for some reason.
And kind of cradles them, fondles them, kind of sniffs a lot of things.
Yeah, she's not Ripley. I mean, obviously she's a clone, but there's nothing really about her that makes me think there's anything of Ripley left in here.
I wonder if that's what also makes it feel so terrible, is just that anything we knew and possibly loved about 1 and 2, and to a much lesser extent 3.
No, nothing. No, don't bring that one into it.
There's almost nothing there. No redeeming features.
Was there not... I was reading that there was an early version of the script that called for Newt to be the one that was resurrected. So that, if you think about all the personality shifts, that makes a lot more sense. Apparently they changed it probably because Sigourney Weaver actually said yes, and they were like, we can't believe this. And then the other reason is there is no aliens infecting Newt at any point.
Well, knowing that she took $11 million to be in this trash movie makes me understand a lot about why their effects and nearly everything else was so shit. Because she legit took all the money.
What I want to know is, why cloning someone from a drop of their blood? How do you get an alien queen embryo inside that clone? Is that just space science?
Was there not does the dialogue not imply that she was impregnated with an alien queen in Alien 3?
Yeah.
And that's another problem with the whole "this isn't Ripley" thing. Again, scrappy space miner, but now she's the host of a queen alien. If she's going to be infected by an alien, then surely it's just the same as anybody else. Why?
But did they not try and say early on though, that for some reason it worked with her? They had some sort of weird symbiotic relationship.
We also don't know where the alien queens come from, I guess. How they appear.
They obviously found it on another planet.
They've just been destined to come together.
Yeah.
From light years apart across the galaxy, they found one another.
Yeah, because the alien queen in Aliens is just kind of there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's fine. You don't really need an explanation, which we'll talk about at length when we get onto Prometheus, I would imagine. The lack of necessity for explanations in these sorts of things sometimes. But so it's just for whatever reason, this alien impregnated her, decided to become a queen, and throughout the cloning process, her DNA was spliced with aliens, so now she's part alien.
I guess it was lucky for the scientists that were looking to get that alien that it all worked out eventually, and it only took 8 clones to be able to have a viable one.
How did they get her DNA? I mean, she was pretty well crisped.
Yeah.
In the last film.
I wonder if that's why they said it was from blood, because she maybe bled somewhere and somebody went and had to scrape up that blood.
Or I guess the monks or whoever they were could have taken a sample when she was unconscious.
Mm.
Yeah, there's ways around that, I guess. I mean, it's the least of my problems.
So we've mentioned the supporting cast, and I said that it's a fairly strong ensemble. But do they are the characters all that interesting at all, or are they just fodder? And I was trying to think about what the difference between the fodder of the colonial marines in Aliens is. They are interesting and well portrayed by lesser known actors, I'd say, and yet these ones are. I don't know. I don't find anything about them really to be all that interesting at all. And the whole it takes so long kind of setting up who they are, and you see them kind of hanging around this military ship, and I don't feel like a connection to any of them.
I don't feel a connection to any of it at all.
Yeah, they're all
Except
painfully
except the alien.
Except the alien. Yeah, they're all painfully one note. Like Ron Perlman's he's the douchey misogynist, and then you've got the disabled guy, and then you've got Winona Ryder. She has no personality until she becomes an android, and then that's her personality, is that she's an android. And
the other women, that like you don't learn anything about her whatsoever, other than she's having a relationship with Michael Winslow.
Yeah, and then there's the guy that has guns in his sleeves for some reason, and that's about it. I mean, they're all just cannon fodder or alien fodder, but like.
I did like that they have like a disabled character as one of their main characters though, because that is something that you don't see very often. And for a movie in the 90s, I think that's quite a... Why am I trying to find a redeemed feature for it? It's utter nut.
Can you see any of Joss Whedon's normal, his usual skill at creating a cast of characters? Do you think there's a kernel of it in there that's just been completely kind of watered down or wiped out by the filmmakers?
I think there is an attempt at banter. The first scene that they appear, there's that kind of attempt of, look at us, we've been together in space for quite a while, and we have little in-jokes, and we talk back and forth to one another, and this guy stabs me in the leg quite frequently for some reason.
It's just weird.
So you've got all that to its credit. They do they feel like people that haven't just met, which is what we're supposed to get out of that scene featuring them. They're kind of talking about fairly mundane things. They're.
I don't know. I find that the bonding scenes of the Marines in Aliens just so much more effective.
Oh, they are much better. Again, you get the impression that they've been together quite a while, and they have their little in-jokes, and they've seen a few things in their campaigns together. But in this, it's a watered down version of that. It's the people like the Colonial Marines. Let's do that again, but with pirates, because everyone loves pirates. Disclaimer, I do not love pirates.
And what about the military characters? Anything at all stand out about any of them? Obviously, Brad Dourif's a great actor, but...
Was he the main one that's really hairy?
No. That's probably like the best thing about the film, was just how hairy those shoulders were. But... again, they're just so one note, like you said, Craig, and just nothing really to find entertaining about any of them.
Do you mean like that guy that like tries to kiss through the glass?
Yeah, that's Brad Dourif.
Oh God.
He is good at being creepy, and I guess that's he does that well. The other guy,
challenging film for him.
The other guy, Ren, was just like so. Melodramatic and over the top, and anytime he was delivering lines to the pirates, he was just kind of blowing everything out of proportion.
I feel like he should have been on like a police academy.
Yeah,
what are they called?
He seemed like he was in a different film altogether.
Yeah, like it felt very it felt like a weird comedy movie whenever he was on, and it was kind of like redonkulous.
I didn't think much of the military people. I liked Wormtongue though, because he was just okay at what he did, and the scene where he was like playing with the alien by like freezing it, and then it just it recoiled slightly. I think that was him.
It didn't recoil slightly. He was like nitrogening it.
Well, it was kind of the
liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
That was really sad, that bit.
Well, it was kind of like he was able to train it to some degree, as in it realised, if I do this, I will be hurt. But then...
yeah, but that's cruel.
But then it gets its own back on someone else. So, that's fine.
Yeah. He should really have been the recipient of that freezing, but instead just some poor guy comes in armed with a pistol. I don't know why he came in just with that, thinking there's a big acidy hole in the floor. I'll be safe here. And then, yeah, the alien was like, scoosh.
Also, where did it come from?
I don't know.
Although I did like the Alien Great Escape attempt, where they just killed one of them. Just acid up the floor.
You probably felt sad for that alien that got punctured to...
Oh, God.
You think they'd prepare by, okay, we understand that these things have acid blood, so if we put them in a room together, this might happen.
Yeah.
So let's perhaps separate them?
I feel bad for all the aliens because they shouldn't be treated that way.
You shouldn't be feeling bad for the aliens. They are, like, soulless killing machines.
Oh, I've just realised that that's her face.
What I wondered about this military space lab is, why is it such a gothic nightmare of a place? I mean, I know that they feel like they've got to kind of continue that grungy, grimy theme that was established all the way back in Alien. But I think it might have been better if they'd had some kind of sterile lab environment, and it would have at least been interesting because it was a different kind of visual.
It has the worst aesthetics.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It's about time we saw something new aesthetic-wise in the Alien universe, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
I feel like this was new because it was so terrible.
No, it really it really drove it home for me when they went to the chapel, and I was like, why would a chapel on a military ship look like this? There's like a weird kind of tunnel to get into it.
What chapel?
There was a bit where Winona Ryder syncs up with the ship's mainframe.
Oh, yeah, that's in the chapel?
That was in the chapel.
Because that's original.
Yeah. And I was just looking at it like, I understand that there's an aesthetic, but then I would have just far preferred if they'd gone for something completely the other way, because it looked so... there's these scientists working on cloning and experimenting on aliens and things. And, if you want a bit of downtime, you want to go and speak to God, go into this weird techno goth club of a church.
Maybe
it's fair enough that they have a chapel. That's fine.
Timeless.
But,
So I thought the effects were trash.
You didn't like the visuals. You laughed out loud a couple of times when there were aliens on screen.
Yeah. Every time as well. Every time they have a shot externally, like to the ship, where it's like space, or they're going past Jupiter or whatever, or Saturn. I was like, why bother? Like, why even bother showing us any of that if it looks that awful? Like, if you can't deliver any decent aesthetic, why even try and pretend like you're trying to transport us into space? I felt like I was more in space without having seen any crap shot of a starry sky with some planets in it.
Well, because we're on a podcast and we're talking about CGI, it would be remiss of me not to mention Jurassic Park, which came out in 1993, 4 years before this movie. And
really, what happened to all other movies that have computer generated stuff after any time Jurassic Park came out? Because I'm just a bit like, we will hold you to that.
It's money plus talent is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but they could have given their $11 million to somewhere else and made a semi-decent. It could have had a story and decent visuals.
Or given Sigourney $10 million and spent another mil on those aliens.
Spent anything on the graphics.
But
what did
11
they have?
was her minimum. She wasn't going to do it for any less than 11.
Yeah, fair enough.
11 would have only been 10 would have only been 8/10 of a dump truck. Needed the full dump truck.
I read that the director didn't want to have men in suits for the kind of wide shots of aliens because he thought it was too obvious that it was somebody in a suit. But then I suppose the counter argument to that is that the earlier films were good because they didn't show very much of the aliens. They didn't have these kind of wide, well lit shots. So when in this film you see that alien scrambling over the escape pod, and it looks like some it's just terrible, like silvery badness.
It would have been better with plasticine. They could have done like a classic
stop motion
Clash of the Titans, and that would have been amazing.
Well,
but instead they had some, I don't know what anyone was thinking at all. I feel like I really really struggling to understand how this movie.
That shot was followed up with General Shoulder Fuzz CGIing a grenade into the escape pod, and that was bad as well.
Well, I enjoyed that more than the alien.
I understand where the director's coming from about I want to replicate the fact that you don't see much of the alien, but I think that only works up until a point. If you're in the fourth film in a franchise, it's like, no, show me the alien. Like, I've already seen 3 films where I don't really see the alien.
No, I think that was the problem. That's what he was doing, because instead of having men in suits, but from being able to see the whole lot, they were like, right, let's do these wide shots, but use computers to make really bad. Like, I'm sure there were alien computer games that were coming out at that point that were better looking than that. Alien 3 on the PlayStation.
Alien Trilogy on the PlayStation.
Yes.
Yeah. That was some game. I don't think the aliens look better in that, although they didn't look that much worse, I suppose.
I thought it looked.
There was AVP on the PC. I'm sure that was it.
Yes, there was.
I quite like the swimming scene, and that was something new.
God.
Really?
Seeing aliens underwater.
That was my one memory of this film, and I was like, I'm sure that looked terrible back then as well.
It was making me wonder. Obviously you have all these alien variants in various different things. So I'm just thinking, what if a facehugger managed to latch onto like a shark or something like that? What we're going to get
in space,
or a space dolphin.
It's a space lab. They could have sharks.
He's right.
I mean, if I was experimenting on aliens, I would be doing that. I'd be getting every animal I could think of and just seeing what I could cook up.
Yeah, but 200 years in the future, there's probably no sharks.
Noah's Ark with as many facehuggers as you need.
Yeah, exactly. It's just bring me every animal you can think of.
Now there's your alien resurrection plot.
I want to see an alien giraffe. I want to see an alien shark. I want to see an alien koala. It's starting to sound like Gremlins 2 now, isn't it?
No, I agree with you. That's always been one of my... First of all, I've always wanted to know what the Predator homeworld is like, because there's got to be like teachers and mechanics and things. And yeah, what happens when facehuggers attach onto every other kind of species? My two burning questions.
They haven't given us that yet.
No.
Yeah. I mean, we've had humans, we've had a cow or a dog, depending what version of Alien 3 you watch.
Yep.
And we've had a predator, and that's it.
One day.
I hope not.
Well, if that is made into a film, we will be covering it on this podcast.
Well, like
for some future Alien Day.
Anything else that's interesting? I mean, at least if he's going to continue making terrible alien films, like, why can't he make a terrible alien film where there's a giraffe?
Because it's 200 years in the future and humans have killed everything.
Well, if you believe the ending of this film that is now non-canon, then yes.
But what they can make is creepy newborn alien-human hybrids. That I was like thinking, is that kind of Ripley's grandchild? Or clone Ripley? Because she gave birth to the Queen, kind of.
No, she didn't.
Well, the Queen was gestating inside her, and then that Queen created the skull-faced...
Wait a minute. So that Queen that gave birth to that baby is supposed to be the one that Ripley gave birth to?
Yeah, was that not clear?
It's kind of all they talk about, actually.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
How did I miss that?
Because, I don't know, so much of the rest of it was...
Bamboozled the rest.
Yeah, it was not holding your attention.
Well, I suppose to follow your logic, that means it's Ripley's great-granddaughter, because Clone Ripley would be Ripley's daughter.
Right.
Well, no, not if Clone Ripley gave birth.
But Clone Ripley is a clone.
Did Clone Ripley give birth to the Queen, or did real Ripley give birth to the Queen?
But if you think about it, Clone Ripley borrows elements from her and then the alien, which makes her a child, because she's genetically different.
So what you're saying is it's an incestuous relationship?
I think it's more of an asexual relationship.
Well, no, if that's like her child, but also her mum.
Anyway, Natalie, we know that you felt feelings of great connection to the creepy newborn alien.
It reminded me of my cat.
That's a sad indictment of your cat.
Yeah.
I did that whole... I think it's supposed to be like a quite animalistic, playing on that sort of, like, you know, wild-natured. It can be gentle when it wants something from you.
I don't know. I think it was.
When it doesn't get it.
I think it was supposed to have this weird, expressive face that, you know, because all the other aliens don't, and they just have jaws upon jaws. This one was supposed to. You're supposed to be able to look into its eyes and feel what it was feeling, but it was. I don't know.
Yeah,
so weird.
I think the original conception as written was something a bit more detailed than that, but they must have ran out of money or just given it to the work experience guy who just paper mache'd up this monstrosity.
It was supposed to be even more grotesque as well. It was supposed to have both sets of human genitalia, and apparently it was filmed with that, but they were edited out because it was considered just too grotesque.
Yeah. For some reason it reminded me, I don't know, parts of this film reminded me of the 90s Godzilla film.
Go on.
And yeah, it's a really tenuous connection, but I made it anyway. So you've got this bit where, Natalie, as she talks about, feel sorry for the aliens because they're like killing them. And then in the 90s Godzilla film, they kill them all the Godzilla creatures because if not, they'll overrun the planet. Which is what will happen here with the aliens if they don't do something about it. And then you have that bit at the end where you're supposed to feel sympathy for the giant creature. I mean, the alien thing is not giant, but it's, you know, you're supposed to feel sympathetic towards it when arguably there's no reason to feel sympathetic towards it. So
just because it's been betrayed.
And this is 1 year before Godzilla, so, you know. Maybe
which was 5 years after Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Maybe Roland Emmerich watched this and thought, that's my story. That's what we're doing.
What do you think about the way it was disposed of, Natalie?
I just thought that
Did you feel sad for it as it was like absolutely...
Oh my god, it's so awful.
Whimpering and being destroyed by the vacuum of space?
I don't get the people who made this movie at all, because it's like they act like they don't give a shit about absolutely anything to do with it, and then just utterly destroyed. You just utterly unnecessary roughness, unnecessary cruelty. I really struggled watching it. And then when it got to that bit, I just felt like I was getting kicked in the teeth.
It's basically the way you always deal with an alien, isn't it?
Yeah.
Blow it out the airlock.
Yes.
Yeah, but like not bit by bit. Well, it
that was
screams
particularly brutal.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I didn't feel especially sorry for it. I was like, I wish that was me.
We haven't talked about the fact that it kills its mum that it's just been born from. You know, even though like the Xenomorph is all like, oh, like I gave birth to a little baby.
Narrated handily by Brad Dourif, who's just sitting there kind of going,
yeah,
you're a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, and it's all like, you know, it's just been born, it's a really beautiful moment, and then it rips half its face off. We didn't talk about the fact that, like,
is there not precedents for that in nature, though? There are a lot of, like...
Mate, not of the babies doing that. And then, like, the mum...
I'm sure there are baby animals that kill their parents.
We didn't talk about how Ripley finds all of, like, the total fucked up versions of her clone self, and then takes a flamethrower to her live version.
Yes, humanely puts her out of her misery with a flamethrower.
Kill me! Okay, I'll just torch you.
Well, it's all she had to hand, to be fair.
No, it's not all she had to hand, Craig.
It wasn't the most subtle way of doing it either. I'm sure that probably drew the attention of a few aliens.
And it's like what our flatmate said. Well, actually, he said it's the this film he's ever seen. Direct quote from Jamie. Jamie's turned into the Isaac. You can just hear him in the kitchen,
creeping around in the background.
So there are some spiders that eat their parents, or their mother anyway. Crab spiders.
But do they punch their face off? That's the question.
Well, no, it doesn't say so here.
Yeah, but the mum knows that and gives herself up for that. That's not what a Xenomorph is supposed to do.
Yeah, but this is no ordinary Xenomorph.
The bit I didn't get was, okay, we've changed the reproductive cycle so that they now just give birth rather than laying eggs. So
That was Ripley's gift to her.
Great,
Yeah, so you don't need the face huggers anymore, which is a bit of an evolutionary advantage, to be honest. Like that's probably good for your xenomorphs. That means they can just be deployed in the middle of a population center and continue reproducing and overrun the place very quickly.
I don't know, I think they seemed to have it quite well down for, every other film that we've seen them in.
But now they're even better.
No, they're not. They're more vulnerable.
Are they though?
Yeah, they are.
Do you think there's anything deeper to this film? Do you think all these, clearly clone Ripley's supposed to have this connection to the aliens? She's as a non-clone character, been kind of living with them and battling against them for however long. What does it mean that she feels this now? That she has this weird connection that she's kind of evolved
she
to?
kills one of them, doesn't she? And then when her raiders are like, "Why did you do that? That's one of your own," and she gives no answer whatsoever. I don't.
Do you think that's just another ill-conceived element of this movie?
I feel like there's no real rhyme or reason to any part of her character. She's completely flawed, and that's what's so frustrating, because in the first movie she's... I hate it.
There's one thing I think works relatively well. Throughout, you're not quite sure whether you can trust Ripley. Because obviously she's familiar to the audience, or she'll be familiar to a chunk of the audience that are watching this who have seen the older films. So you expect her to be the hero, but immediately she's acting very at odds with everything else. And there's kind of a volatility to her when she's around other people as well. So I don't see her as the hero of this story, because you think that she's just as likely to turn around and kill everybody as the aliens are. You don't quite know what she's all about. I mean, they sort of abandon that eventually, but I quite like that, that kind of time bomb in their midst sort of idea.
Yeah, I agree with that, I think, but I also think that, it is detrimental because she is this kind of unknown quantity, and maybe for part of it you could think, I don't know what's going to happen here, but then also the whole point of having her in it is...
They didn't take it too far, though. They didn't, don't mean too far, they didn't take it far enough. They have her be this, oh, you're conflicted, is she good, is she bad, who is she an alien, what's going on? But then they don't, but when it suits them, she's then back to her regular pre-clone self. She's all oh, I think I know how to drive this, oh, let's go to Earth, oh, how nice, oh, I've never seen other, blah, blah, blah. Whenever they want and whenever it suits them, they bring the old Ripley back. But for them to have an edge, they've tried to make her this weird alien human hybrid, and it's not worked at all, and it just doesn't work for me on any level. Sorry, the movie is shit.
Basketball skills, though.
Yeah,
she fucking wishes.
She does acknowledge that she's no longer human, though, and then the most kind of relatable scene she has is when you find out, is it Cole, whatever her name is, Winona Ryder. When everybody finds out that she's an android, that's the most open conversation she has, because I guess it's the one person that she feels that she can relate to, because non-human among humans kind of thing. There's a little bit of depth there.
Yeah.
It's not a bad conversation either.
This thing is trash.
We've gathered that. Yeah, I don't know. Still, there's really not much to go on.
Only why?
I feel like I want to clone my younger self just so I can smack him in the face for ever thinking that this was a good film.
Or for suggesting that we podcast about every single movie to do with it, because it's obvious that they're all trash.
I'd have to clone younger Craig for that.
You would? I don't think you might do that. One of me is enough.
All I'm saying is, I feel like all they've done with these alien movies is create one that's well worse than the one before it, just to make it look like that one was better.
There's some stuff under the surface here. I mean, there's a bit of existentialism, the whole, is a clone a living being? What does it mean to be a clone of someone who was once alive? I mean, like, Ripley is dead, but her legacy lives on through this other version of Ripley, and, you know, she has to figure out who she is, because she's, like, brand new. She kind of has some flashes of memories of the old one. Like, she talks about Newt, but doesn't remember her name, that kind of stuff. So there's little bits of her identity, and she's sort of thinking about, is that still me? And then I think that scene where she walks through the lab where there's a bunch of other clones kicking about is very much actually, am I unique? You know, is there anything about me that makes me stand out?
Yeah, like, I get that, and I get what they were trying to do, but it wasn't executed in any way whatsoever that I think has any redeeming features at all. It was a waste of time for me and for everyone involved producing it, a waste of money. If anyone got anything out of that and they then now think, like, good, I'm never going to have any moment in my life where I think about making anything like this, good. But for me to have sat down and used my time to watch it and then know that I have to talk about it on a podcast the next day, I've got better things to do with my time. This movie...
You have better things to
It'd
do
be
with your
nicer.
time than
It'd be
this
nicer.
podcast?
It should have been destroyed. People shouldn't be allowed to watch it anymore.
Have we found a rival to your Power Rangers feelings?
I hate this more than Power Rangers.
This is incredible, folks.
In fairness, I don't think many people rewatch this film. I think they have the Alien quadrilogy because it's cheaper than buying the first two on their own.
Correct.
Yeah, because that's why I have them all, because it's cheaper to buy it that way.
That's why I bought it for Goth, and there I have major regrets.
Same with the Terminator box set.
I
Wait,
don't have the Terminator box set. I actually own 1, 2, and 3, and I don't own any of the other ones.
I think the one I have is up to 4, maybe? Is it 3 or 4? Anyway,
think
you
it's
only
4.
you only really want it for 1 and 2.
Yeah, although I've recently rebought Terminator 2 on 4K, so that's the
I
thing that I've done. I also have my big Terminator arm that came with it.
I want this to be over.
Yeah, we could start Judgment Day podcast where we talk about the Terminator films every year. We get 2 good years and then.
Why did you keep signing us up to these jail sentences in podcasts?
You did ask what other annual events we could be doing. August 31st or whatever it is.
Well, it sounds like we're pretty well resigned to the fact that we've seen the best of the Alien movies, and that our fate from now on, until we've covered all of them, is that it's just going to get worse and worse. Although possibly not as bad as this. I think that they might get
next year. I'm telling you, I have things to say about Alien versus Predator that might be contrary to the prevailing opinion.
I don't even know if I've seen AVP Requiem, so that could even be something to look forward to, a brand new film.
Even if you've seen it, you haven't really seen it. It is the darkest film ever made, and I don't mean thematically. I mean that it is not well lit.
I love it when they do that.
Gonna watch it through 3D glasses for the darkest experience, the darkest timeline.
Yeah, what I really need is 30% light loss on this thing. Why not? Whatever gets you through the night.
Not this movie.
Do you have any last feelings on the Alien quadrilogy as we leave the original series? This is the very end of our coverage of it. Natalie?
Why? I'm surprised Craig didn't read this out, but I left a question for the question and answer set.
There was a further cue that we did not A.
Well, no,
Yeah.
It was a cue from Natalie. I encouraged her to ask it live.
I said, why? Why anything? Why this? Why even do this? That's
And
my
that could be
stomach. I
that
feel
could be
like
what
I've got a
Ripley
new
was
stomach.
asking herself when she was trying to figure out her place in the universe.
Can't even remember what I said. Just why? 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 Why?
Craig, what do you think? As a fan of the series, but, I could sympathise with you if you're not a fan after having to dissect the last 2 movies.
No, I don't.
Well, surely if you're talking about Alien as a franchise, I wouldn't be a fan of it because I've only enjoyed 2 of them out of however many there is. But how many is there? It's like 2 EVPs, so that's 6.
Please don't add them up because you're just going to
Covenant and
depress me.
Prometheus, so that's 8. There's a couple of shorts for the 40th anniversary that I've not watched. I don't know. Maybe I should watch them.
Christmas special.
Christmas special, yeah. The Alien Christmas special. Why not? I'm kind of sad that this is the end of Ripley.
I'm glad because if this is, in fact, I'm sad that this is how she really died.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that's the end of her. Like, this is the last we see of Ripley, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
Even Aliens 3 was a better ending for her than this.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, you could
like I said, to just make it crap so that the last one looks better.
You could just watch Alien 2 and then imagine what happens next.
That's kind of what I do now. I don't think of 3 and 4 as being the last we see of the character.
Well, neither does Ridley Scott. He said that as far as he was concerned, Alien and Aliens were canon, and then Prometheus. So,
Well, they do exist, so he needs to be in this reality and just acknowledge that that's really where his vision went, and that's what happened to his story.
Does he acknowledge Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
We're actually in a filmmaking world where people are just getting rid of reboots entirely, and or getting rid of films in a series. So we've got a RoboCop film coming out at some point that is the original RoboCop 2 script with Neil Blomkamp directing. So that's that forgets about 2 and 3. Halloween just abandoned everything after the first one.
Yeah.
And then made a sequel to that, for better or for worse.
Can we just make new movies?
What else then? What else was abandoned? Terminator is always abandoning the previous one. Genisys itself abandons everything, including the first one, and now this new one is abandoning everything after the second one, I guess.
Does anyone keep up with any of this?
Only Craig.
No, it's like I'll just I'll hand out the flowchart on the way in. To enjoy this film, you must understand this, how this ties into the wider mythos. So, yeah, pretty much after this, it's all prequels, though, isn't it? I mean, you don't ever visit the future timeline again.
Great.
How do you feel about that?
Colonial Marines, the video game that now is non-canon because it was crap. And it seems that every time there's a crap Alien film, they try and forget about it.
I hold out hope that they can make a Colonial Marines and that it'll be a spiritual sequel to Aliens.
You hold out Hadley's hope.
There it is.
Yeah, it is.
Actually, I was thinking about them making a kind of Rogue One-ish in between Alien and Aliens and have it be Hadley's Hope. And you just know everyone's going to die. I mean, that's spoilers for Rogue One, I'm sorry. But but yeah, that seems like the kind of thing that they might do, is just take some point from somewhere in this timeline and say, let's tell this untold story.
Yeah, well, there's Isolation, which is Ripley's daughter, in it, so that's another story that they could make a film out of.
Please don't.
It doesn't necessarily have to be bad.
But it would be.
But like, Ripley is one of those classic film characters, and this is her swan song, which is... it's not very good.
Yeah, ill-conceived.
It's like John McClane, he's now no longer John McClane.
That's because I'm John McClane.
He's some balding superhero who runs around creating international incidents. Although they have tried to... I don't know, I kind of thought that Winona Ryder's character was supposed to be a bit Ripley-esque.
I don't know. I got nothing from her.
No, I mean, just in the way she looks. She had like the short hair and the kind of, in theory, ballsy attitude.
You normally like Winona, right, Natalie?
Yeah.
But in this?
Well, I still wanted to like her.
You wanted to, but just couldn't bring yourself to.
She was good at Spock's mother, as Spock's mother.
Look, we've gone through this.
Do you think this film is why she shoplifted?
I think that's what drove her to it, yeah.
Let's bring up that old news story.
Well, the film was so boring that I was actually thinking about that as I was watching it.
I actually think I think my favourite scene in the film might be the cloning lab where she sees all the different versions of herself. I think that's, it's just kind of like surreal and grotesque. Bit of a,
The whole thing's grotesque.
a bit of a Ripley's Believe It or Not. That kind of,
He's been hanging on to that one for ages.
Wanting to get that out. No
I thought
wonder
about
you
it
won't
last
let
night
us...
and I was like, it has to get in the podcast. It has to.
No wonder you won't let us get to the end of the podcast. How many more have you got of these?
That was it, I'm done.
Well,
Good, because so am I.
like a certain film series, we're petering out to a sorry end. And as we gaze out of the capsule back to Earth, Natalie, I think I know what you're going to say in summation.
I've got nothing else to say.
Can we actually discuss the first sighting of Earth in the Alien franchise?
Oh my god.
Although
Craig.
that's only in the director's cut, right?
Craig.
Yes.
Let it go, because there's nothing here worth talking about.
I don't know. I was interested that it was just a barren wasteland. I mean, why do you think that is? Is it because Walmart bought the Weyland-Yutani Corporation?
Oh, I just want it to be over.
We could just slide off and let him carry on like this.
We should have just left the microphone on and just gone, done our stuff, done the dishes.
I don't know. I think that's noteworthy though. You'd never see Earth until this point.
Well, it's not like they did any justice, what I'm saying.
But in 1 year's time, we will return there and be talking about it. Past Earth, not future Earth, but,
Or
well,
present day and
present day, past from what we're currently talking about. Yeah, get that flowchart out again. Craig, any other business? Anything else you'd like to say about Alien Resurrection?
Not really. Got to see Earth at the end. That was interesting. Just a wasteland. I kind of want to know more about that. I don't know. Maybe it's a crossover with Planet of the Apes.
You need to stop asking these questions because one day they'll be answered in the form of terrible movies.
I'm sure there has been an Alien Planet of the Apes crossover comic. I'm going to look that up for the show notes.
Stop saying things out loud, because as soon as you say it out loud, it's like it has to exist.
Right, well, my final thoughts are that I'd fooled myself into thinking that there was something worthwhile about this film. Watching it again was boring and pretty disappointing. Yeah, a terrible, terrible end to a series that was kind of petering out. Go and watch 1 and 2. They're good. 3, not so much. Charles Dance, shout out.
Just remember, at this point, it was a 50% hit rate.
Yeah.
Those were the good days. Actually, the 100% hit rate were the first 2. Those were the good days.
But yeah, so thanks for joining us again. Come back in a year's time and we'll be talking about some Predators as well.
Yeah, anyone's joined us for this one.
It was my pleasure to just stir the pot from the peanut gallery. It's freeing not being the host. I can just say whatever I want. Well, I'm still the editor. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always disconcerting as Natalie loses interest. She did not enjoy the film, and she did not enjoy talking about the film.
No. That's correct.
Attendance to the podcast wasn't compulsory.
Well, that's true. But here she is.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, and good night.
I'm away to hibernate for another year before Alien vs. Predator.
Hey, thanks for joining us on our annual pilgrimage to the Alienverse. Thanks to everyone involved, and remember to check out all the great content at kneelbeforeblog.co.uk. Kneel Before Pod podcasts can be found at the website, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever else good podcasts are sold.